want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Good afternoon, Mad Men Mafia.
I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Now I got to sneeze.
Uh-oh.
It's coming. At some point, it's going to happen.
No sneezing.
At some point, it's going to happen.
And now how you do it? You scare somebody? Or is that hiccups?
That's hiccups.
Oh, that was hiccups. Okay.
Yeah, no.
See?
Sneeze ain't nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you sit there waiting for it, then
Feel it.
Uh-oh.
Well, just
do it that way.
one of the many things. No, man, I'm going to sneeze right all over you.
Over there.
I'm going to bless you with some of this.
That ain't
some
blessing.
of these juices.
That ain't blessing.
Some of this juices. Some of this Kirk gravy.
God, now, really? No.
Some of this Kirk gravy.
No.
You're getting some of this Kirk gravy all up in you, man. You know what I'm saying?
You call me a line stepper. You call me a line stepper. What was that?
This marinade, man. You know what I'm saying?
You were dancing all over that line, doing a two-step, doing a jig.
You know what I'm saying? Do it up for you.
Oh.
We'll formulate a nice recipe for you.
Save that for you when you get home.
You know what I'm saying?
Save that for when you get home.
It's all good, man.
I'm telling you, man.
Speaking of home, when I get home, I'm a husband. When I'm at home, I'm a dad, a stepdad, bonus dad. I'm a son, I'm a brother. I guess I'm a friend.
Depends on the day.
I guess I'm a mentor, mentee. I'm all those kinds of things, man.
Yeah, those are, and it's interesting because sometimes you would go, those are human doing things, like those are things we do. But they're also roles we play.
Yeah, and probably, not even probably, every guy out there has got several roles. Every guy out there is a son.
Yes.
Hopefully every guy out there is a friend. And depending on what happened biologically with your peoples and them, you might be a brother. Depending on some choices you made in life, you might be a father. You might be a husband, all these other kind of things. But we do have all of these roles in life, man. We do have all of these things that we are. And, because of the things that we are, there's some things that we do.
Right. Or in some cases, it's things that we do kind of dictate who we are or who we think we are, because, when you step into these roles, almost by default, you have a child, now you're a father.
Yeah. And
you have to play that role. And, hopefully you play that role. And hopefully you play that role with your heart and your mind and your soul. And it's not just another thing to do. But this topic actually came from the wonderful world of TikTok, I believe it was, or some reel on some social media.
Yeah,
and some lady was like, what was that, light switch moment for you that really shook your world? And a guy was talking, he went to his first therapy session, and the therapist was like, well, you seem pretty well adjusted for a man coming to therapy, why did you come? And he said, well, I'm a father, and I'm a coworker and a friend and a husband and a this and that. And he's like, and I just want to be better at those things. And the therapist said, well, you're a father to your kids, you're a husband to your wife, you're a good employee to your boss, you're a friend to your friends, but who are you to yourself? And he basically said, well, and that's when the waterworks started, and I had an epiphany that I didn't even know who I was to myself. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what roles you play and how that affects you, and are you doing it for you, or are you doing it because that's the expectation, or just the societal norms that if I got this, I got to do that.
We as men find identity in roles. We find purpose in roles, titles and all these kinds of things. We find significance in all of these titles and roles, and we find who we are. We have a tendency to identify ourselves and even look for these things as validation as to success or lack thereof in all of these roles. And that's the downside of that. But we have a tendency to lean into all of these roles, and we put a lot of weight on those things. And, inside of all of those roles is another person or other people. And a lot of times, not even a lot of times, when you find validation in something that has to do with other people, you're destined to come up short. You're destined to come up empty. You're destined to not be enough. the people around you will never say, you know what, you've done enough, you're good. The people around you in your household or in your life or in your circle, generally don't kind of tell you, all right, cool, stop right there. They normally they don't say, hey, don't do any more for me, or don't give any more, don't sacrifice anymore. So a lot of times, we end up like, man, what can I do? What can a brother do? And that's where we get in trouble.
Yeah, that's why we spend so much time on us looking in the mirror as men and finding out who we are, what our beingness is, who we are inside. Because all of this outward judgment, all of this looking for something on the outside of you to validate you, turns you into basically a consumer, or turns you into an employee, or turns you into somebody you may not want to be, because you are playing these roles. Now, if those roles are healthy for you, if they're benefiting you, if they're fulfilling you, then awesome. But a lot of times, to Kirk's point, if you're not aware of who you are to yourself as a person, if you're not aware of what you want, what your foundation is, what it is that makes you tick, and what fulfills you, then you can get caught up in these roles. And we see a lot of that, in previous generations, the whole midlife crisis, syndrome. I did all the stuff I was supposed to. I got good grades. I went to college. I met a girl. We had a family. We got married. I had the, white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, and I'm miserable. Well, it's because you aren't working for you. You're not doing what fills your soul. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're playing a role, and maybe it's not a role you even chose. Maybe it's a role that was given to you by parents, well-meaning parents and family and society, and just they say, oh, go be a doctor or a lawyer, make a good income, go work 30 years and have a pension and then retire. Well, who said that? Who was the one to decide that was the way to do things?
I have come up short a whole lot of times in life looking for validation from something or someone that had nothing to do with creating me. Matter of fact, I've even had challenges and issues looking for validation from people that did create me, mom and dad, and have found pretty consistently in life that when you search for it from there, you're gonna end up empty-handed. It's the brass ring scenario. It's a mist. It's a cloud. You can't collect a cloud in a cup, and you can't you can't put a bungee cord on a cloud of mist. It's one of those things that it just doesn't exist. It's there, but it's not tangible. And like I said, when you get wrapped up in all these things, you're gonna find some level of frustration. And so ultimately, the landing spot is I have to find balance in who I am, what I do, but I also have to find balance in looking in the mirror and recognizing that I have value and worth outside, or in addition to, separate from all of those things. Otherwise, you just end up, short and coming up short and empty-handed every time.
Yeah, it's when you play these different roles, sometimes we go at those roles either in the best way we know how, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, because maybe we didn't get the experience or the education. I know I was watching something just the other day, or maybe in tandem with that TikTok video or what it was, but it was about parenting and how a lot of times when you think that your job as a parent is to just give to your child, and you wonder why when they become teenagers, they become ungrateful and entitled and whatnot, is because you just gave to them. Because you just were saying yes to whatever they wanted, versus being a human being and putting in some boundaries and saying, I can give you so much, but I only have so much. Like when they come in, like little kids come in 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning when you're trying to sleep, it's like, buddy, I love you. Cereal's in the fridge, cereal milk's in the fridge, but daddy's sleeping. Like, put some boundaries in. But sometimes when we play these roles and we don't have a great education towards them, we whether it's father or employer or husband or boyfriend, whatever it is, sometimes we don't have that mentorship. We don't have that experience of a healthy masculine man in a home. We tend to just kind of go by what we see out in the media, all these external things telling us how to be, and we don't even ask ourselves. We don't check in with our heart. We don't check in with our soul. We don't say, what is actually my truth and how should I do this? And I think a lot of times the frustration and the feeling of less than and not enough comes from not honoring ourselves in those roles. We're playing a role because that's what we saw. We're playing dad because that's how our dad was, or maybe we're playing opposite of our dad because of what we saw. we're playing these different roles by our experience and what we were given as children. And sometimes we need to stop as men, especially when we get to this age where we got to go, all right, maybe these experiences weren't my fault. Maybe this trauma wasn't my fault. But now that I'm an adult, it's incumbent upon me. It is my duty to fix these things if I want to become a better human being and actually step into these roles consciously with my whole heart and soul, being my true self in each role that I play.
This is the genesis of nice guy syndrome. This whole concept is the beginning of that. It's the big bang in that, where it all begins with this thing that we're very talking about, because we're looking for the other person to say, yes, good boy. Yes, you're successful. Yes, you've done this. And yes, we're looking for the other person or other people to give us a pat on the back and to do the attaboy. And so we end up being the tail that wags the dog. And it shouldn't be that way, especially, as a man being the tip of the spear. You can't be the tip of the spear if you're always looking over your shoulder at the rest of the arrow, in terms of what we do and what direction we're going in. It just doesn't work that way. But this thing that we're talking about is it really is the tip of the nice guy syndrome or nice guy scenario. I want to be liked. Who doesn't want to be liked? I mean, people say, I don't care what people think, but that really kind of goes against human nature. But when being liked becomes everything, affirmation crossing over into validation is where it gets dangerous and toxic and self-destructive. And so we got to be careful of how far we allow the roles in our life to go in terms of dictating how we see ourselves and to what degree we are successful in fulfilling our calling and our purpose.
Yeah, when we, as nice guys, and a lot of us had that experience, and some of us were recovering nice guys, when you look for that outside validation and you say, I just want to be liked, well, what we don't realize is that we would much rather just be liked for ourselves. We want to be seen as who we are. We want to be loved for who we are. And you can't have that reaction. You can't have that result when you're being a nice guy and when you're just catering to what everybody else wants. You have no backbone. You have no spine. You're wishy-washy, and they don't respect you. And so it's much better to have some boundaries, have some backbone, know who you are, and then have people like you for who you are. And so that way you're not having to serve people you don't like. You're not having to do things you don't want to do. You're not having to be the one who's always up late cooking the potato salad for everybody's barbecue because you can't say no. You get to be the one that says, hey, I would love to help out, but I'm busy with this, or I can't do that day or whatnot. You have a backbone, and you can gain more respect that way as a man, because you're willing to say no. You're willing to say, this is my boundary. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what I can't do for you. But when we're in that nice guy syndrome and we're just looking out for everybody to like us and everybody, all the validation coming from the outside, we always end up frustrated. We always end up feeling less than because we're not being ourselves. And deep down, every nice guy just wants to be loved and acknowledged for being himself.
We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC.
Now we got that on the second.
Oh, bomb.
Good.
Dig it in.
Getting good.
Bomb. Dig it in.
I'll switch banners up and go back and forth. Yeah, for y'all watching behind the scenes, make sure you go to menempowerment.net, sign up and get your tickets. Come see all of us doing our things, speaking from our heart, and doing goodness in the world. We're doing good things.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Count it.
Okay. Yay! So we are back.
We're back. Mad Men of Masculinity.
Right here on KLDC.
Yeah, on the interwebs everywhere. MadmenRadio.com, all the podcast platforms. What's up, y'all? What's happening? What's going on?
We got an extra website for you, menempowerment.net.
Yeah. Menempowerment.net. Menempowerment.net. We got a summit coming up if you're watching us live. August 24th, less than a couple weeks from now. Doing it to it. We got a couple keynote speakers and several more TED style speakers and topics and all that kind of stuff. We're bringing men together to meet, to connect, to network, to grow, to expand, to spread our wings, and to have a safe place where men can just come and be men. And so, just even in the topic of Masculine Empowerment Network, it is counterintuitive in our culture for men to be proud to be men and to empower each other. I mean, I've been, man, I'm telling you, I've been
You
in and out of
Facebook
I've been
jail?
in and out of Facebook jail so daggone much lately, man. I mean, just from promoting this thing, I've been kicked off, kicked down, kicked in the teeth, kicked in other places too, by your boy Marky Z. I mean, man, they just been on me, dude. And I think, and you know, I've even had a couple conversations with a couple people just about the title, just our idea of a men empowerment network. And you know, maybe to some degree, historically, culturally, there's somewhat of a bitter taste or a little bit of cultural PTSD from, you know, a time in history where, you know, where it was more a patriarchal society and, you know, women didn't have rights and those sorts of things. And that's been a long time ago. I mean,
over 100 years now.
How many people are alive today that were alive then? And I'm not saying that was insignificant. I'm not saying there's not generational trauma, if you will, that can overflow from that. But the men today are not seeking patriarchy, are not seeking, you know, largely like dominance. I mean, men today are more good. You know, 51 out of 100 men are good-hearted men who want to do good-hearted things. And so the empowerment of men is the empowerment of women today. Statistically, if you want women to be better, women to be safer, women to be more empowered, then you need to empower men. When men are better, women are better, families are better, schools are better, workplaces are better, churches are better, communities are better, you name it. Statistically, you can find this, that we are all collectively better when healthy men are present. But the idea of like, wow, you know, men really, you know, pushing for a healthy masculinity, and we talk that kind of stuff, but when men actually take steps forward to do that, there's a whole lot of pushback to that. There's a whole lot of, and where I'm going with that is that, you know, society, I think, would be more comfortable if we just did our roles, if we just did the things that we're told to do and the way we're told to do it. You know, I think back to Brene Brown talking about, you know, the guy that came up to her saying, you know, where's all your work on men? And she, you know, well, I don't do any. Well, that's convenient because my family would love to see me die on my white horse than to, you know, open up to admit to them about vulnerability. And I don't think anything can be further from the truth. In a whole lot of cases, it is not safe, largely speaking, for men to open up to the inner circle. I'm talking about the family structure, open up to their weaknesses and vulnerabilities, because to them, you know, their world is less safe when we are vulnerable, when we are weak. And so the world would rather us today as men just play along, just here's your script, here's the things we need you to do. We need you to take out the trash. We need you to kill the spider. We need you to pump the gas.
Make the money.
We need you to, you know, to make everybody happy. We need you to, all those kinds of things. You know, we need you to do what we want you to do to make us feel better, make us feel safe, men. And at the same time, you know, we're largely speaking dying on the vine. It's hard to just even get men together to move forward in these things because culture says, no, just do your job.
Yeah. And I know I heard some of y'all in my head saying it was only 50 years ago. It wasn't 100 years ago. Well, I was talking more about the Industrial Revolution that started taking fathers out of the homes. And this started that slippery slope. And we got into the 50s where fathers weren't in the homes as much. And so they didn't raise their sons in the right way. They didn't get that healthy masculine influence. And so then you had, well, you know, Mad Men syndrome or whatever you want to call it, where this patriarchal toxic masculinity that the feminism started fighting against in the 60s. But of course, as with most things that we do, we start with a good intention and then it gets co-opted and then it goes off the deep end. And now feminism is destroying a lot of things, and it's destroying ladies more than anything, because before the feminist movement, women were happier than men. They were, you were housewives and maybe you didn't have all the rights and stuff, but you were actually happier. You had a role, you fulfilled your role, you were perfect mothers, you did all the right things. But now that you're having to play both roles, now that you're having to be the breadwinner and the mom and the dad and everything else, and because you're following this feminist narrative, now statistics show that you're more unhappy than men. And men are pretty unhappy. We're pretty unhappy because we don't have that natural family unit to provide for, to have that role as father and husband and provider and protector. We've lost that role, as now a lot of us are listless. And so one of the reasons we're doing the Masculine Empowerment Network is to bring men together. And it's not a political agenda. There's no politics. There's no religion. There's no money making. We're losing money on this thing. It's just about getting men in the room to meet other men, to start a synergy of cooperation and collaboration so that we can make it a better world. Because ladies, believe it or not, the Masculine Empowerment Network, the Mad Men of Masculinity, it's really about us men being better for you. It's really about doing for you, because as men, we need that purpose to fulfill ourselves. We need to feel like our role is to protect and provide and preside over our family, our women, our children. And so this, in a roundabout way or even a direct way, is really about making women better, making families better, making communities better. But what we see is, and what we hear is, men empowerment, that's a bad thing. Why can't women come? Well, what happened to women empowerment? If we put womenempowerment.net up on the screen, fireworks would go off and it'd be, you go girl, and this is the best thing ever. But because now we've been demonized so much as men that we say menempowerment.net, and it starts we get the side eye and we get all these questioning looks like, well, what are y'all trying to do? We're trying to make your life better.
Yeah, we're trying to make your life better by making the world a better place. To be, perfectly clear, to be perfectly honest. And I can't say it again that when men are better, everybody's better. When men are like the tide, and when the tide comes in, all boats rise. If women were honest, and when I talk to women who are in their honesty, they will admit that them and their friends are less fulfilled because they do have to pick up all these roles that they aren't naturally, either psychologically, biologically, physiologically built for. And having to pick up all these masculine roles, having to do everything, having to go out, kill the pig, bring home the bacon, cook the bacon like the best cook in the world, and still be everything in here and be everything in there, as opposed to just being who they are, who they want to be and are able to be. And so when men are pushed out of I'm going to use the word sovereignty, when we're pushed out of our gift of being able to assess a situation and fill in where we need to fill in. In other words, where we don't have to just be a role and we don't have to look for your affirmation or validation, where we can say yes and say no, and it just is what it is. And we're not bad. We're not, we're not abusive. We're not being, emotionally abusive to you by saying no, because sometimes you need to hear no. Do you really need another pair of shoes? Babe, like, come on. Like, do you really need another pair of Louboutin? Do you really need another Coach purse, another Louis Vuitton? Do you really need it right now? Like, maybe, maybe there's a time, here's a little something. But right now, babe, we got this going on. We got that going on. Maybe we want to do some investing. Maybe we want to do some whatever. Maybe, and I believe, and I've had this conversation with several women, sometimes they feel safer when they hear no from a man that's operating out of his masculine. And so when a man steps into that space, when he is empowered not to dominate, but to lead, and empowered to do so, especially a good man, a good-hearted man, then everyone's better. Then everyone's looked out for. There's a covering. There's a leading. It's like, a windbreak. You're going into the winds of life and winds of the world, and you're safer when you hear bump in the night. You're not the one to get up out of the bed. He is, because he's empowered to do those things. He's empowered to think about our finances, to think about the safety, to think about all these other kind of things. And so that's what it looks like when a man is operating not just in the script that he is given by society, by modern feminism, saying what's okay and what's not okay for men to do. When we are able to operate like that, and when we just do operate like that, then the world is a better place. And again, you have a whole lot more freedom to just be in your feminine, and just be the mist, the wind, the cloud, the flag on the flagpole kind of thing, to just be free. But when we have to like shut up and play our role, then that's when you got to pick up and you got to start doing stuff that we should be doing.
Yeah. And the whole nice guy syndrome came from ladies raising their sons in the way they thought they should be. And so now a lot of the women, you said it yourself, we hear it all the time. You can't find the guys that you want. And a lot of the guys that might be a good fit for you are going overseas, because ladies overseas still want a man to tell them no. They want to feel safe within that. And ladies, if you're honest with yourself, when you test, when you're giving those tests to men, that's so you want to see if he'll tell you no. If that man will tell you no, then he'll tell some other lady no that's trying to get with him or something, so you can feel safer in that relationship. So sometimes you got to put down the feminist Kool-Aid and realize that the roles men want to play are the roles that we need to play, so that you can play the roles that you want to play, so that we can be a unified unit. We can be harmonious, and we can play the roles that we were born to play.
You in your feminine, you want a man to say, "Hey, babe, we're going out. I got reservations at so and so. I bought us tickets to the play. We're gonna go see Wicked. You know, or baby, here we're going out. Wear this, wear that. I got something planned for you. Not, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? No, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to go here? Do you want to go left? Should I go right? Should I go left? Should we do this? No, you want a man when you are in your feminine, you want a man to just be able to operate and to be able to lead and make good, you know, safe choices. A lot of times you don't even really care. Like, I mean, in terms of the details, you don't care if you sit in that section of the theater versus that section of the theater, but you want him to be able to operate in those kinds of ways. That's when you're able to live in your feminine. But you got to understand that living in your feminine and the feminist agenda, the modern feminist agenda, they're not coincide. They're not living, they're not driving in the same highway. They're completely opposite directions. And so that agenda doesn't want you to be in that, and that agenda doesn't want us to lead in the healthy ways that we can when we are in that space.
Yeah, what we're as men having to do with nice guy syndrome is acknowledge, take responsibility, and change our mindset and how we operate. Well, ladies, it's coming time now for you to look at the feminist movement and realize it's not working for you the way you thought. What you're being told is a lie. It's all about divide and conquer, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. They're dividing you from your husbands. They're dividing you from having a partner. They're making you take up so much more responsibility. They're dividing you from your natural femininity, and they're dividing you from all the things that would make you happy. And we've seen it. Ladies are less happy now than they used to be. But you know what will make us happy right now?
Yeah.
It's a happiness break.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Mad Men and Masculinity. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we kind of are, man. We kind of are. That's a great point, Tanner. That quote, I love that quote, but I always mess it up when I say it. Like, to me, man, I don't know if I can picture it or what, but it's basically like a square kind of thing, and you know, but it's so true, man.
Since I didn't set up Tanner, so you guys on the back of the screen or behind the scenes, that's what I'm trying to say. Lord, behind the scenes, couldn't hear Tanner. He was talking about the G. Michael Hoff? G. Michael Hoff quote of strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times, and then hard times make strong men. Yeah. Which it's this circle, it's a cycle, and guess what? That's life. It's a circle of life. You ready?
We're back.
Welcome back.
Mad Men and Masculinity.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Carter. I used to like that joint.
I love
Horseshack.
I think I like the song more.
Vinnie Barbarino.
Yeah, I think I like the song more than actually
Horseshack.
the episode.
Vinnie Barbarino, Washington.
That was Washington.
I feel like I'm missing one.
Yeah.
Who's there's another dude with brown hair.
Wasn't it Mr. Carter? He was a teacher, right?
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter.
Welcome back, Carter.
But
there's another dude, man. There's another one I'm missing. Oh man,
we got to look it up.
We got to look it up, man.
We can't do it on the show though.
GTS that thing.
We cannot do it on the show.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
We see now we're talking about roles again. Like back in the day, we would have remembered all that stuff, but now with all the sophisticated appliances and all these comforts that we have, we're going to mush, man. Yeah. Men are going to mush. That's why I'm so glad we have the variety of guys that are going to be there speaking at the Masculine Empowerment Network. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got Grandmaster Chris Nasky, A3 black belt. We got Adam Feuerstein from the Forge, who's all about, comfort is killing us men. You and I are speaking. We're going to let them be surprised by what we're talking about. And what was the last keynote?
Jeff's talking about
emotional EQ, emotional quotient, or IQ, whatever. And then Craig
Zablocki, he's talking about I think just like being real, being authentic.
Yeah.
Being your authentic you.
And make sure you bring your questions. We're gonna have an opportunity we're gonna have a panel. We're gonna have an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. So when you come in here, and remember, yes, we want you to come listen to us, but it's really not about that. We want you to get whatever nuggets you're gonna get, whatever seeds planted, whatever aha moments. but really it's about the guy sitting right next to you, because I keep saying it and I want you to really hear it. God works in mysterious ways. The universe likes to play these tricks on you, and whatever your problem is, whatever your idea is, whatever your goal is, whatever it is you need, you may end up sitting right next to the dude that's going to be the one that helps you fulfill that, that's going to be supportive of that. Yeah. So I mean, just come there and be there with other guys, because it makes you feel better, it makes you healthier, and it helps you in all these roles you play in life. When you have that strong masculine backbone and support that's got your back.
Yeah, I mean, men coming together, man, that is, you can't go wrong with that. Good men coming together. I mean, men coming together with a common purpose, you know, a common goal, wearing the same jersey, trying to cross the finish line together, trying to cross the goal line together. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, we just went through the Olympics, you know, us wearing the same jersey, us doing it for our people kind of thing, man. And, you know, and men coming together to do that is important. I mean, it's important for who we are, for where we need to go as a culture, as a society. And, you know, and one of the areas, one of the ways we need to go in culture and society is, you know, men getting to the point where we seek affirmation from in-house, you know, in-house kind of thing. And, you know, when I looked at the Olympics, you know, and hear all the athletes talking about when they look up in the stands and they see the American flags and all that kind of stuff, there's something about when you get affirmation from your own that makes a huge difference, man, makes a big difference. And so, you know, men affirming other men, man, that's, you know, that's huge. And a lot of times we don't get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, most of us men walk around, especially with nice guy syndrome and, you know, Gen Zers and whatnot, or Gen Xers. I always get that confused now. There's so many gens and stuff. But us Gen Xers a lot of times walk around feeling like we aren't really men because we didn't have that healthy father figure for the most part. And then we're in this world where no matter what we do, we're wrong. You know, if we do it this way, we're wrong. If we do it that way, we're wrong. I saw a video the other day that cracked me up, where this lady realized that this guy did everything that the women were telling him they wanted: flowers, open the car door, took her to dinner, did all that stuff. And then she's like, I think it's corny. Yeah. You know, so it's like, what do you want? So a lot of us men are feeling like it's a lose-lose situation. We don't even feel like men because nobody's telling us we're men, and they're just telling us we're toxic and this and that. And so having other guys around to reinforce the roles that you play, to tell you you're not alone, to show you that your problems are not you're not the only one. Like I think Kirk said that 100 times, you know, if you think you're the only one with that problem and you were on an island, it would probably be the most populated island on the earth, because every guy has the same problems. It's just time and circumstance. You're going to go through the same thing. It just depends on time and circumstance. So having guys around you, and we like to say we're good men. And if you want proof that we're good men, there is no agenda. We're not selling you anything. If you want to buy yourself, great. We're not going to ask you to. We're not doing a political agenda. We're not going to be like, oh, and if you want this next package, that'll be this much money. No. And, you know, there's no religious agenda behind it. It's all faith. It's all beliefs. It's everything else. It's just men coming together to see that, guess what? We are more alike than we are different, no matter what your belief system, your race, creed, nationality, anything else. And when you get into that room, it's going to be a sacred space. It's a sacred space for men to come together and talk about those things, because the roles we play today for a lot of us are killing us. It's unhealthy. We feel frustrated. We feel like there's no point in a lot of cases, because it just seems like a lose-lose. Once you come to this event, when you get around other guys that have a healthy mindset, that are working to be better, to make the world a better place, you'll find some purpose, you'll find some passion, you'll find some of those things you're missing in life.
And our next generation of men, kind of like us, our next generation of men are largely growing up in households without men there regularly. They might go to dad's, you know, every other weekend or something like that. They might go to dad's house, maybe not. I mean, a lot of times, you know, that dad relationship in a split household generally tends to deteriorate over time. And so a lot of, you know, we had Amy on a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, she talked about, as a very successful single mom, there were some things she can't give to her son. And she recognized, as a mom, there was some, you know, she almost had like a glass ceiling in terms of things that he needs or is going to need in his journey towards manhood. And just talking about in the significance of young men coming to, you know, just an event like we're talking about, an event where men are just coming together. And ultimately, at the crux of all this, it's about men coming together, and men coming together, learning from one another, growing from one another. Because if we listen to what society says, it's not going to be anything that we should be doing. society is not going to push us in the direction of, of masculine power, of masculine empowerment. It's not. I mean, it's going to push us into roles. It's going to push us into, square pegs and round holes, and you got to fit into this cubby hole, and you got to be like this, and here's where you sit, here's where you don't sit, all that kind of stuff. But it's not until we get around each other. It takes a man to make a man, and it takes men to validate men. And so when we get around other men as men, then that's when we realize, man, there's power in this thing. It's like that old, I forgot what cartoon it was when they used to come together, Wonder Twins or something like that. We used to come together, and it's not
Wonder Twins powers activate.
Or if he was a softie, maybe the Care Bears.
Right.
When they came by, the Care Bear power, or whatever it is, and they all came and their little stomachs lit up, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The Teletubbies, I don't know, whatever your thing is. But either way, when we come together, and we realize, like, wait a minute, man, we can make a difference in this world. We can make a dent in this world, and we can do it all together. You can have your group. You can have your group. You can have your church, your religion, your faith. You can have your income. You can have your race, gender. You can have your sexual orientation. You can have whatever. We're men, and what does that look like? I don't know. Let's figure. What does that look like? I mean,
Well,
how can we celebrate our differences?
There's proof in the pudding that they don't want us to come together, because every time we post about it, Kirk is banned or whatnot. And then when we say menempowerment.net or Masculine Empowerment Network, we get the side eye, because subconsciously, or even very consciously, for those that, whatever conspiracy theory is about, who runs the world and everything else, those people do not want men to come together. Because like Joey Diaz says, you don't need a whole army. You need 4 bad MFers, and you can change the world. You can take over a country. And that's why they don't want men coming together to get healthy, to get empowered by other men. Because when we stop listening to what they tell us, and we start listening to our hearts and start having our own foundation, our own minds, our own hearts, and we start doing what is important to us, and we start doing the things that it makes us fulfilled, that's when the world changes. And that's what they're fighting against. That's what social media is fighting against. That's what big business is fighting against. All of the news stations, they want to push this narrative of toxic masculinity because it makes us weaker. It makes families weaker. It makes nations and countries weaker, because the men aren't fulfilling that role of provider and protector. They're not fulfilling that role that we were designed to fulfill. And one of the things that, when we look at the statistics of like single moms and single mother households and the effects it has on kids, one of the reasons is when the biggest purpose of motherhood is to nurture. Like the woman's job is to nurture. Now, fathers nurture too, but they nurture in a different way. But they also have an additional job, an additional function, which is to challenge. And it's that challenging after, once puberty hits and that teenager starts losing their mind with all the hormones and stuff. That's what the main portion of childhood, that the father needs to be there to set boundaries, to challenge them, and to prepare them for the world. When all we do is nurture and bubble wrap, they're not prepared for the world. There's failure to launch, and they don't get out of the house. And then we have this entitled, run of generations that we have going on now, where they don't want to work. They feel entitled to everything, but they don't take any responsibility, have no accountability, because the father wasn't there to challenge them and show them this is how the world works, and this is how you operate within the world.
Here's a news flash. There are bad men in this world.
Mm-hmm.
News flash. There are unhealthy, destructive, abusive, violent. There are bad mofos in this world who are men.
Yep.
News flash. Those are the exception and not the rule.
True.
There are less than 50% of men by far who are like that.
Probably like less than 10%.
That's probably less than 10%. I know we like to think that, because a lot of us have had bad experiences, and most men these days have been abused or wounded or abandoned by other men. Guess what? It just is what it is. But I'm talking about the men today who are working to advance the ball of healthy masculinity down the field are the majority. Most men I know are good men, even if there are some things about us that we could use some growth and development in. Most of us at our heart are good men. We don't get a lot of credit for that. Matter of fact, I believe, it's my theory, that the best men are not recognized until they're gone. When they're gone, all of a sudden at the funeral, the family's sitting around like, holy crap, now what? Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? They didn't even realize all the stuff that he was doing while he was alive. And they don't realize how unappreciated he was when he was alive. The good men, the best men. We're like, a pillar in the building, holding up the building, but just silently doing our job.
Yeah.
Silently doing our job out here, man.
I mean, how many conversations have we had with ladies who are single mothers now, who left their husband for whatever reason and had that rude awakening of how much he did they didn't realize, how much he was shouldering that they didn't realize, and now they have to do all that themselves. And that's the same thing that Kurt's talking about. A lot of times you don't realize what your man's doing for you until he's gone. A lot of times you don't realize what he's shielding you from. And so when men come together to try to make each other better, it should be a celebrated thing, it should be a good thing. But what we're hearing is that it's not. And it's only because the narrative is trying to keep us apart. Because when men are stronger and the world is better and families are better, then we resist. We resist these influences. We have our own foundation. We have our own hearts and our own minds, and we make our own decisions. We're not as influenced by what the boob tube says and what social media says and what they're trying to sell us. It's like that Tesla truck. I know some people really like that thing, but that just looks
That's
like
ugly.
I think that is like proof in the pudding that people will just do anything.
Yeah.
Because it looks like hot garbage to me. It looks like a 4-year-old's drawing of a truck, and people are freaking out about it. And every time I see one, I throw up a little bit in my mouth because I'm just like, that is so ugly.
That's just Elon Musk just trying to flex. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna buy whatever I put out there.
Did you know how he named his first 4 vehicles that they put
I
out?
don't even know, man.
SEXY.
Great.
Model X,
Nice.
Model S, Model E, Model X, Model Y. Sexy.
Nice.
That was his whole.
And so,
way he
man,
did
put
it.
out that little ugly truck and people
Mhm.
buying them bad boys up, man, at about 100 G's a pop. I don't know.
And you see how just easily we're influenced to do things that have you ever stopped and go, do I really need that? Do I really want that? And it's like the iPhone thing. Every time they come out with a new iPhone, it's got one more little lens on the back, but it's the same thing as the last one and the last one and the last one. But people freaking out about it because they're so influenced by something outside themselves that this is going to make you happy. But the only thing that makes us happy, especially as men, is to play the role that we were designed to play as men, which tends to be provide, protect, preside, and to have a family and a woman to do that for.
And so we're gonna come back from my last break and wrap this thing up. Mad Men and Masculinity on KLDC. I lost track of time on that one.
Got a
Over
little,
by like a minute and a half.
got a little hot under the collar on that one.
Tanner's got to work some magic on that one.
Now he's gonna be like, let him talk, let him talk,
Whatever, fool. Whatever, fool.
whatever, let him talk.
But boom, man. Yeah, that truck, man. I don't care what nobody say. I don't like that. That truck is ugly. What do you think, Tanner? You like it? Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That's funny. You say that. I've never seen the inside of what that truck looks like. That's so funny you say that. I never thought about that, man. I've never thought about what the inside of that truck.
I know it's got the big screen in the middle, and
Like all the other
all the other ones. So it probably looks just because that's one of the things too about the Teslas. They all basically look identical on the inside.
Yeah.
The giant screen. They have the white leather seats, and
Is that truck a 4-door?
Yeah.
It is. So it's got 2 seats in the front, 2 seats in the back.
yeah, and then
Really?
it has that little garage door for the bed, so it's like closed, and you open it.
Do the doors open like up or
No, I think they open normal.
no? Huh. But yeah, that's
Oh,
funny
yeah.
you say that though, man. I've never seen an inside picture or anything of the truck.
Well, that's one of the things too. Is like this whole electric vehicle movement is another one of those kind of like sweep them under the rug scams that people are going to really hate it in the future. Wow. Yeah, and then of course and then they're charged by diesel generators when the power goes out. So it's like you're still running off diesel. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah, here we go.
Back to the show.
Close this thing out.
And we're back. It's the fourth quarter, y'all.
Fourth quarter, hold up in fours.
Fourth and goal. We're
Hold up
going
in
to
fours.
red zone defense, offense, whatever.
Hold up in fours. While we were on break here, about behind the scenes, we sitting here talking about
That
Tesla trucks, and never seen a picture of the inside of it.
Yeah, somebody send us a picture of
If
the
you got-
inside.
If you got a
one.
picture of the inside of that truck, man, post it. Put it in the comments or
'Cause
send us a-
The inside must be
It must be dope.
amazing because the outside is hot garbage.
It must be dope, man. If they, because I wonder, you know, it has that peak in the front. I wonder if
Mhm.
the inside is a peak or if it's like flat. That's just the way it looks on the outside. I don't know.
It's creepy just looking.
It
It's
does,
just
man.
weird.
It's like, I don't
So
know, man,
weird.
whatever.
But anyway,
I'm talking about the roles that men have and
See?
the importance of.
if you had healthy men in your life, you wouldn't be buying a Tesla Cybertruck.
For real.
Dad'd be like, "Why are you gonna buy that trash?
Like, dude,
It's just hot garbage."
it does look like a trash can, though.
It does look like
Seriously.
it looks like a trash can.
It
That has
looks-
a
yeah, exactly. The little flappy trash
little
can.
flappy trash
The
can.
little peak top, you know, where you flip it, it looks like one of those
See,
flappy trash
And I'm
cans.
not even talking bad about Elon. 'Cause I know Elon's just laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, he
Like
don't
these
care.
people will buy anything I
He don't
tell them to.
Pretty much. I mean, you know, just like, yeah, I mean,
See, if you had healthy men in your life, they would tell you no. Don't buy that hot garbage.
Don't buy that. That's what people do.
Stop putting needles in your face and those eyelashes that are
Yeah.
4 inches long and stuff.
Don't
See,
do that.
ladies, y'all need to go
Y'all need that.
research why those lashes were made in the first place and what they were called, and then maybe you'll stop putting them on your face because I don't think most of you know what they were designed for.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to GTS.
I mean, with your background, I'm surprised you don't know.
I don't know. I'm at a GTS.
Yeah, because it was
I'm at a GTS.
they were
man.
designed by ladies of the night, the walkers of the streets,
that ain't
to
surprised.
catch stuff.
That ain't surprised.
To catch
You need, ladies, you need a
customers.
man telling you stop putting needles in your face.
Yeah.
Or at least less needles or whatever. You know, y'all need to, man, whatever.
You know, that's one thing I always wondered. Is there any scientific, like, did anybody research the effect of all the makeup on ladies' faces and skin? Because, like, most guys don't wear hardly any, and we stay pretty much looking the same from like 30 on until we get real old.
Yeah.
But then you see there's like this sharp decline, and then ladies have to get like needles
I
in
don't
their
know.
face. And
The
stuff
more
like
you
that.
get, the more you got to get.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's this kind of like, here, use a little makeup, then, you know, oh, that now you need more, now you need more. And of course, it's also pushed by the business industry, the marketing industry. I mean, just it's like the pharmaceutical industry. They want us to be on every pill.
I save my wife money because I'm like, nah, you don't need that.
None of
I mean, you know, and you know, again, she's like, oh, you know, we got to go back and forth. We had this ongoing thing from day one and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just like, you don't need to keep running up there. You don't need to, you know, that ain't doing nothing for you. No, you got it. I mean, you know, when you come to the crib, I mean, I like this right here.
Yeah.
And you realize that maybe I don't have to keep up with what society says I got to do to be pretty.
See, that's a
or considered
role.
pretty.
That's a role that men
That's a
play.
role. I'm telling you.
That would make your life easier, ladies, because all this stuff you do that you think you do for us,
No.
you're doing it for other ladies. You're
Yeah.
doing it because you're influenced by social media and marketing.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's why all y'all that say, I can't believe I get hit on so much when I go to the grocery store with my hair in a ponytail and sweatpants, because we don't care.
That's just
Y'all doing that for y'all. You're doing that because of the
Mhm.
influence of other ladies and social media and marketing. It's not us. We don't care.
That's like the one at the golf course the other day, man. She was all dressed cute and all this other kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, come on, man. Like
And she couldn't play.
she couldn't play
could
with
not
hot
play.
garbage, dude. I mean, she might as well play with a pool cue.
I mean-
Thought she was hitting that thing, man.
We're sitting there after the round having brunch,
Right.
breakfast, whatever. And I'm looking at her like, she looks very cute. Yeah, she does look cute. And she couldn't swing for nothing.
And of course, they were playing with
It's
another
just
couple,
all-
so she had to look cuter than the other girl. That's all it was. That's all it was about.
Just competition.
She need a dude. I mean, that's one of the areas where we step in and we like, okay, here's the deal, babe. One of the roles that we have, you know, here's the value that I provide in this moment. You don't need to do all that.
Yep.
You doing too much. You're doing too extra.
One of the rules that we play as partners in life, and not companions, because you want companionship, get a dog, get a cat. Anybody can be your companion. Anybody can go to the movies with you or to the bar with you or whatever. But you want a partner. You want somebody in life who is going to help you, help yourself, and to keep you from, because we need each other to check each other. Ladies, you got to check us when we lose our minds
Yeah.
and you know, do silly stuff, and it's the same thing. But what you've been told is that man can't tell you nothing. Well, if I can't tell you anything and you want me to take all the responsibility, part of the responsibility is to be responsible for your safety, your happiness, or your happiness is your responsibility nowadays. I'm sorry. But your safety and providing for you and everything else. But if I don't have any say in that, if I don't have any say in that responsibility, I have no responsibility.
So us as men, we need to take our roles, who we are and what we are. We need to take those by the cojones, and we need to drive that thing, man. We need to jump on it like a bull, and we need to buck that bad boy and tame that thing. And we need to say, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's the way I come into a room. I'm a thermostat, I'm not a thermometer. I set the temperature, I don't tell you what the temperature is. And I'm doing that because I want us to be safe, I want us to be comfortable, I want us to have the best that we can have. And my validation does not come from those around me, because those around me, they want more. They always want more. Trust me. And if you got kids, you know what I'm talking about. If you got a job, you know what I'm talking about. Your job is never going to say, "Oh, you've done enough." Man, you're the salesman of the year.
Here's the new sales goal.
You can take next year off.
No,
that ain't never going to happen.
New sales goal,
they
baby.
give you employee of the quarter parking space, and you got to earn it again the next month. Somebody else is going to be in there, and man, you can have a job. You can think you're the man, the miggity Mac daddy, and next thing you know, you come in and they say, "You know what? We made some changes, and here's a little severance. Thank you very much for your time." And next thing you know, you're out, and somebody else, if anybody else, will be in that job tomorrow. And so we gotta step into life, step into the moment, step into the room, step into our relationships, step into our situation as men, whatever that is, and not be dependent on what the world and those people around us say in terms of whether we are successful or not and who we are called to be as men to the world around us.
Yes, it's time for us as men to audit all of our beliefs, all of our influences, and learn who we are. We need to let go of all those things that aren't us, all the things that don't feed our soul, that aren't our core mission, that aren't the things that make us who we are. And then we need to double down on things that are who we are, make that our priority. And then, like Kirk said, we need to be the influencers. We need to stop being influenced. We need to start influencing and get around other men to be stronger of an influencer. Because I guarantee you, when you have a strong group of guys around you and you got to influence all of them, like as a team, it makes you a stronger influencer, it makes you more eloquent speaker. You learn, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to be, called out and made fun of. But guess what? That's part of being a man. That's how we grow. That's how we get strong. But it's time for us to do these things for ourselves, number one, our families, number two, the communities, number three, the country, number four, and the world. Like, we have a mission. Think globally, act locally. It starts with you in the mirror, auditing your beliefs, your thought processes, your influences, and then creating the man you want to be, which probably will take you right back to your inner child and the little boy you were before all these programs were put on you. It'll take you right back to that guy, and you bring him to the forefront, and you start playing like you used to play, you're going to be the man you want to be.
I was playing golf today at a charity event, and the guy I was riding my cart with, we were talking about being, he's kind of newly married, stepping into a role as a bonus dad and all these other kind of things. We were talking about the fact that he even brought it up that, in your home and in your family, part of being the man is being the bad guy, is accepting the fact that, you know what, I'm just not going to be liked, because that's just the reality of being the man, especially in a family dynamic, is I'm just not going to be liked. I mean, because if you seek to be liked, man, you are going to be highly disappointed.
Yeah, if your wife, your girlfriend, your lady can't tell the kids, you just wait till dad gets home and they don't get scared, you're not doing your job.
Sometimes you got to be the knower in chief. Sometimes you just got to be the, that's my job, and maybe you got to take the L. Maybe you're the one to say no when she comes to you with that idea that from the kids or from whatever, maybe you got to be the one that is your job to say no on behalf of mom and dad or whatever it is. Or maybe sometimes you got to back your wife up or your lady up when it comes to her kids or the kids. And sometimes you got to back her. I got your back and let her know, the tough road is sometimes the right road. But either way, you can't do that if you're only seeking validation from the people around us. You're a good man. You're a heck of a man, a hell of a man. You are good in your heart. I mean, and you want good. You are good. You do good. You got dealt a bad hand maybe in life, and you didn't have it all handed to you. And there's a lot of tools that you should have in your tool bag that you weren't issued, as you were supposed to be issued to them through your upbringing. And so you're doing the best you can to build whatever you need to build with the tools you got in your tool bag. And maybe it comes out looking a little crooked, but if people didn't have the tools that you don't have, then theirs will look exactly the same way. And so when you step into life doing the best you can, man, bump them, man. I mean, poo-poo on. I want to say some real stuff that I can't say on the FCC, but forget all that, man. You do the best you can, and you just keep kicking butt, man.
That is something that I coach quite a bit, and it's something I want every man to listen to. You, in every moment of your life, have done the best you can with what you had. Now, when you could do better, you did do better. When you did know better, you did better. But you can't look back on your past and judge yourself and demonize yourself and say you're not good enough because you think you could have done better. You did the best you could with what you had in that moment, and then you learned from that moment and you grew. And when you get a good group of guys around you who can tell you their stories about the best they could do at that time was to just shut down. Best they could do at that time was to go move into, a new apartment with nothing but a futon on the floor or moving to a dude's basement. That was the best they could do. Those are the stories you need to hear because we all go through those moments. And when you think you're the only one, you think you're a man on an island, you think you're isolated, you don't realize that every man goes through those things. And we all do the best we can with what we have. And when we know better, we do better. And that's why we do this work. That's why we do this radio shows, why we do the Masculine Empowerment Network Summit, for you guys to come together and learn that you're doing the best you can. And when you want to do better, you learn better, you get around other better men, and you will be better.
Because a lot of time, a good man's story is never told. A lot of times, his story is the one that's not the narrative that's told to friends, to family, to kids. I believe there's less deadbeat dads and more scored moms these days. In other words, the kids heard the story from mom's perspective. They never heard dad's perspective because dad doesn't sit back, saying all the stuff that she did.
Yep.
And so, and that goes for, again, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. So a good man's story is rarely told accurately.
If you want to really find out, ask your man, ask your father, ask them about their story and be prepared to listen. Just like he was talking about that Brene Brown example. They just don't study men.
Right.
Men are just meant to be here and do it and not say nothing and suck it up. So you really want to know, ask him.
And sacrifice.
And be surprised. You're going to be surprised by the answer he gives you.
Absolutely. Speaking of answers, holler at your boys, madmenradio.com. You can check us out, Facebook, YouTube, all these. If you're listening to us, you can see us, what our ugly mugs look like. You can check us out. All of these videos are uploaded and live and all that kind of stuff. If you hate us, hit the like or subscribe button. Put a whole lot of comments in the comment field if you never want to see us on your timeline again. And until next time, Mad Men are
out.